Once I found the right grill for me, I started to excel very quickly as far as my skill level goes. And there's really just four methods or four principles that got me there. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video right now. And we're going to start with the most obvious thing that you're going to have on a charcoal grill, and that's charcoal. I want to show you the right way to use charcoal, and it is this thing right here. It's called a charcoal chimney. You know, like nobody can tell you how much charcoal to use. Even when you're watching a recipe video, nobody can tell you how much charcoal to use. So it's always a kind of a guessing game. But this thing here really acts like it's really like a big measuring cup. You know, if I fill this full of charcoal, I can do anything I want to do. As a matter of fact, I can't think of hardly any time where this chimney full of charcoal doesn't do everything I want it to do. And that's a hot and fast cook, or a cook that's 5 or 6 hours long, 8 hours long. That charcoal chimney right there gives me the exact amount of charcoal that I need. It's just a time saver. It keeps your hands clean, but the most important part of it all is that it saves you a lot of money on charcoal. Like, you're literally going to be going to the store to get charcoal less often when you use a charcoal chimney, combined with another tip that I'm going to be giving you in step 2. To use a charcoal chimney, you also have to have some kind of fire starter. There's a lot of them out there. You're going to see them in the same aisle that you see the charcoal, all the grill stuff, and they're called fire starters. Here's the one that I like the most. Weber lighter cubes. Now, a little subliminal thing going on there. They got 2 cubes on there. You really only need one. Remember that. Some of the most popular ones are, of course, this one here, the Weber lighter cube. There's another one called a tumbleweed or something like that. But they all do the same thing. You light them, you put them on your grill, you put your chimney full of coal on top of it, and walk away, come back in 15 minutes, and the whole chimney full of charcoal is ready to go. It's just so much easier, so much cleaner, and so much safer, and it saves you money on charcoal, combined with this step that we're about to talk about right now. The next thing we need to talk about, or the next principle we need to talk about, is the 2-zone grill setup. This is where you place all of your charcoal, your lit charcoal, on one side of a grill, leaving the other side open for your meat. You almost never want to cook directly over the grill grater. This is another one of those huge mistakes that people make. You know, they light a whole bunch of charcoal, spread it all over the grill, and then they put all of their food right over the top of the grill. So a lot of people burn up a lot of food several times before they start to really understand that, hey, maybe if I don't put my chicken right over the top of this roaring hot flame, maybe I won't burn it. I kind of figured that out by myself. You know, I was like, man, I'm gonna put it over here. Like, my fire is right here, so I'm gonna put my chicken over here. It's almost foolproof, and it gives you 2 zones. You know, you have a zone where your food is cooking and getting plenty of heat, but it's safe. It's hard to burn your food when it's not directly over the fire. You know what I'm saying? Now, it also serves as a searing zone, to have all that charcoal over there on one side. Let's say your food is almost done, but you want to get some char, you know? You can take those pieces of meat and put them directly over the charcoals for a couple of minutes. Sometimes it takes less than that. Just depends on the piece of meat, you know? But you stand there and watch it, flip it a couple of times, get the color, move it back to the indirect side. That setup is a 2-zone setup, and cooking that way is called indirect cooking. It's called indirect cooking because you're not cooking directly over the coals, but on the other side, indirect. It's indirect heat versus direct heat, and it'll keep you from burning food. So just like we use the dial on the oven or the dial on the stove to turn the fire up or turn the fire down, we use the vents to control the flow of oxygen to the fire. More oxygen means more heat. Less oxygen means less heat. Now, like I said, I did an entire video dedicated to nothing but how to control temperature on your grill using those two vents. And so I'm gonna put that right around here somewhere, a link to that, and I want you to watch that after you get done watching this, because I go into a lot of detail in that video on showing you how to use your vents and the proper way to use them together to control temperature or to keep your grill in the range that you want it to be in. Last and final tip I got for you is use an instant read thermometer. Buy and use an instant read thermometer, and not one of those little cheap ones that you see in that weird aisle at the grocery store where they got kitchen stuff and pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. Uno momento, por favor. I have a little Amazon store in my description, and you can find all of the tools and stuff that I use in my videos, but you don't want to skimp on the instant read thermometer because it needs to be two things. It needs to be accurate and it needs to be very fast. When you're trying to see what the internal temperature is of your meat, you got the grill open, oxygen is pouring in, the fire is starting to build up, it's getting hot. So anytime you need to check your meat on the grill, you need to be able to get in and out of there pretty quick. Any decent instant read thermometer should give you the temperature in about 3 seconds. The one that I recommend is by Thermometer. This is the one that I use that you see in the videos. Does it in 1 second. You don't want to cook to time, you want to cook to temperature. In other words, you want to get away from the inside cook mentality where it's put this in the oven and cook it at 350 for 30 minutes. It's not that cut and dry when you're on the grill. Or even inside, really, because sometimes you can cook the same thing one day and it's moist and juicy and perfect, and then you can cook the same thing next week and it's a little bit dry or something like that, and you don't know why you did everything the same. The culprit is the internal temperature. Internal temperature is the most consistent number you can use when it comes to making sure that your dish comes out the same way every time. And it's very important, especially when you're dealing with stuff that's kind of lean anyway, stuff that normally gets pretty dry, like chicken breast or pork chops or something like that. There's a minimum safe internal temperature for all kinds of proteins, even casseroles and stuff like that. It is the number at which, or it is the temperature at which bacteria, any bacteria that's still left in that food, will be killed. That's so you need to know the minimum safe internal temperature for anything that you're putting on the grill. For example, for chicken, it's 165. So when you're cooking some chicken, you need to make sure that that chicken is at least 165 degrees inside. But there's another number that you need to know too. You need to know the minimum safe internal temperature. But you also need to know the temperature at which you like your food. Just to recap, method number one, the first thing you want to get really good at is using a charcoal chimney. Buy a charcoal chimney. Go into the description and buy a charcoal chimney right now when you get done watching this video if you don't. It is that important, and it is that much of a game changer. Buy the charcoal chimney and buy whatever fire starter you want. They all work the same. I just like Weber kettle fire starters because they're made of this paraffin wax that just lights no matter what. I never have any trouble with them, and they're very clean. Now, step number 2, learn how to use the 2-zone setup for your charcoal grill. That is simply putting all of your charcoal on one side of the grill and leaving the space on the other side for your meat. It's the safest, most consistent way to cook. Number 3, we talked about using your vents to control temperature. Like I said, I touched on it, but I really got a very thorough video that really goes into the whole process in detail, man, more than I did here. You can find a link to that one right there. And then finally, buy and learn to use an instant read thermometer. I recommend the Thermopro instant read thermometer. I think it's called the Thermopro Lightning. You can find a link to all of this stuff, by the way, in my description. So just check it out, man. Go down into the description, click into the store, and I have a little store there that has all of the products that you see me using in every video. It's not something I'm telling you that I don't use myself. I'm telling you that if you start using all 4 of these principles, you're going to see your skill level improve on the grill. Not in a couple of months, but in a couple of cooks, 2-3 cooks. By the time you do this 3 or 4 times, you're gonna really know your way around that grill, and it's gonna seem really easy to you because there's not a whole lot to do when you do that. There's not a whole lot to worry about because your food is always safe, man. Once you get using the vents down, you'll know how to get the grill temperature where you want it and everything. So it really becomes easy, and when you winning, it's a whole lot more fun than failing. So check it out, man. Let me know your progress. If you got any questions, always hit me up in the comments. All right, it's Ron on the grill.